There are lots of things to take into consideration when buying your first paddleboard. There are lots of sizes of boards and different features, but one of the biggest choices is, do you want an inflatable paddleboard or a hardboard? This video is not meant to be a review of these two particular boards, but more an observation of the two different styles of boards and the pros and cons of each. We have broken it down into several categories that we hope will make your decision a lot easier when it comes time to buy that board. The first category is which board will give you the best bang for the buck. Inflatables get the win in this category because they typically come with everything that you need to hit the water except for a life jacket. Hardboards don't need all of the pumps and other accessories, but usually you still have to go out and buy a paddle after you buy your board. The second category on our list is the ease of transporting your paddleboard to the water. This category goes to the inflatable as well. Even though we do have a very capable Jeep with all of the needed racks and straps, it can be a little bit of a hassle getting the board up there. I wasn't going for a world record on this attempt, but it still took me about 5 minutes to get the board up and secured on the roof. Compare that to the about 10 seconds of throwing the bag in the back of the Jeep and you'll see why this category is a no-brainer. Our next category is getting the board down to the water. Believe it or not, this category is actually a tie. It would seem like the inflatable win because not only is it much lighter, but you can transport it down to the water in its nifty little backpack. But that's right about where the ease of the inflatable board comes to an end, because once you get it down to the water, it's time to pump it up. I tried to inflate the board as fast as I could and it took me about 5 minutes. So that pretty much ate up the amount of time that I saved by not having to strap it to the roof. The other challenge about having to inflate your board is that it is one heck of an arm workout, and you are burning up your arms before you hit the water where you're going to use your arms to paddle. You can get electric pumps to help you blow up your board, and that will make your life quite a bit easier, but they are a little pricey. The next category is weight. As we said before, this is not a direct comparison between these two particular boards, and different manufacturers' boards weigh different amounts. But typically an inflatable board will be somewhere around half the weight of a hard board. That is why inflatables win this category as well. So if carrying a heavy board down to the water is going to make your life a lot more difficult, you might want to go with an inflatable board. The next category is a doozy, and this is where the hardboard really starts to mount its comeback, and it is performance. Not all boards are created equal, but as you can see in the video here, this board has a lot of flex when I jump on it. This is the same kind of flex you might feel when you hit chop and the board will feel a little bit less stable. When you compare that side by side with the hardboard, you can really see the difference in the rigidity. The added weight of the hardboard also seems to give it a little bit more authority in the water, so you get a little bit more distance for your paddle. So especially if you're a first timer, I think a hardboard will make it much easier to stand up and go out and paddle. Staying on the topic of performance, our next category is performance in the wind. Paddleboarding in the wind is typically not going to be the best time, but sometimes you leave on a calm day and then you get caught in an afternoon breeze. This category definitely goes to the hardboard as well. Even though the side rails on inflatable boards are only a couple inches taller than hardboards, they really seem susceptible to the wind for some reason, as you can see in this video here. On one of our trips, V almost got blown out to sea on an inflatable board. The winds were really bad and she couldn't get back to shore. I had to hop in a kayak and go get her. The next category might be a little bit surprising, and it is durability. In cases of inflatable paddleboards versus your typical fiberglass board, inflatable boards seem to be able to put up with a little bit more abuse. They are able to be bounced off of rocks without getting dinged or dented. Obviously, if you run either into a very sharp rock, you're going to be in trouble, but inflatables seem to take the point in this category. On a side note though, the hardboard that we are using in this comparison is a Pelican paddleboard, and it is actually made out of the same plastic that they make their kayaks out of, so it might actually be the toughest of all of the boards. The next category on our list is storage. This would seem like an easy win for the inflatables because you would think that you would just be able to store it away in its backpack. However, we have heard that it is not a great idea to store inflatable boards deflated and rolled up. It's bad for the seams over time. We store our boards inflated on the kayak rack, so it doesn't really save you much space in the long run. This category is a tie. This brings us to our conclusion. At the end of the day, it all boils down to personal preference. The performance of the hardboard is enough for us to deal with the weight and the loading and all the other downsides of it. But that doesn't mean that it's the right decision for you. I hope this video helped make your decision just a little bit easier when it comes to buying your first board. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you get notified when we make new videos. Follow us over on Instagram at thatadventurelife_official, and to see all of our other adventures, head on over to thatadventurelife.com.